here we are back in the limelight and with yet again another extraordinary entrepreneur. We are going to be talking about books and how to write them and how to sell them, but sell them so that they actually make money. Yes, we are. But before we get to that, I do want to remind you all that you are able to see in the Limelight TV on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and another 100 smart television apps. If you want to listen instead to this interview, you are going to see all these lovely places below on the ticker tape that you can go, or wherever it is that you prefer to listen to your podcast. I do want to thank our good friends over at My News Desk. They are, and I have been with them now about 3 years. And what I do is I put out news releases and press releases to the press, letting them know what's going on with my life and with my clients as well. So that's always very exciting. And then you'll see on the bottom right-hand side, there is here a QR code. And that QR code is where you can get all the information about me. So go ahead and scan that, get information about me. And if you'd like to send me your information back, you can do that too. And we thank our really, really good friends over at Eli Technology. And I think that's going to be it for the moment. So I'd like to get started by letting you know that our guest is coming in from, as we say here in the United States, across the pond. And for me, it's about a 12-hour flight, but I'm on the other side of the pond. But I absolutely love having our friends come in from all over the world. I just have a really soft spot also for the English and for London. And we're coming up actually on the grand coronation for Prince Charles, the King Charles, the third. That was King Charles. There we go. And so I want to make sure that we touch upon that as well with our very good friend, Jeff Smith. Let's bring him on. Jeff, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be.
Good morning, good evening, Clarissa. How are you? How
doing extremely well. Just give us a little bit of all the excitement that's going on in England right now with the coronation coming up in what, a week's time, a little bit, 2 weeks' time?
I'll let you into a secret.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in the media, what's happening with King Charles. I mean, I would like to see it. I would like to be there. But can you imagine what it would be like in Trafalgar Square?
Yeah.
So I'm going on vacation.
So you're leaving England altogether.
I'm going to escape all that, and I'm going to watch it on TV. Because
well, there you go.
I mean, no one does pomp and ceremony like the English, right?
Absolutely.
It is phenomenal.
Well, I think it's something that it's really the fanfare that I've been seeing. Of course, the press has been covering this now for a good couple of weeks and will continue to do so, obviously. But it's so exciting to see the regality and to see all of the, the practice, going on in the streets. And they're doing a lot of these practices late at night or early in the morning. So I'm telling you, these people must all be exhausted, just doing all of that, getting ready for these grand celebrations. And we as Americans love to watch all that too. So very excited to have you in from the other side of the world. Jeff, you are, if I had to go through the biography, I think we would be here all day. But, let me just get started with saying you are an international keynote speaker. You are a world-renowned KPI expert. Key performance indicators. We're going to get into that in a little bit. You are a #1 best-selling author, but many, many times over. A master business trainer. That's another really huge part of your business. You are also a virtual broadcaster. We know that because I was on your show. And kind sir, you are also a philanthropist, for which I thank you. Wow. Okay. Where to get started, Jeff? Shall I leave it on you? I know you wanted to talk about something that I had said to you in the interview, and that was, we write books, but nobody makes money making, doing books. And I think you have something to say about that today.
Sure. Well, when you were on my show, we talked about your book, and it was you who said, Jeff, no one makes money from books. And at the time, Clarissa, I sat on my hands. And I thought,
sorry.
Maybe the time will come for me to share this little nugget of wisdom. So now is the time. Is it possible to make money from books? Yes, it is. Now, the secret to making money from books, there's a couple of things we need to know about books and publishing, which I'll very briefly go through, and then I'll share with you the secret of how I make money from books.
Okay.
Now, the thing is to say, not everybody wants to make money from books. That might sound crazy, but not everybody does. So let me put these scenarios forward. So we write a book. That's the subject for another show. So we have our book, and then before that happens, we decide, do we want to go through a publisher or do we want to self-publish? People listening might think, I've heard those terms, but what does it actually mean? So quite briefly, a publisher means you sell your soul to a publishing company, Barnes Noble or whomever, and they pay you depending on your history. So if you're a first-time author, they're not going to pay you very much. You probably won't get paid a retainer. But the thing is, they will decide what your book is called. So you lose everything. You lose all control.
Yeah.
So the publisher decides what it's called. The publisher decides on the book cover. And the publisher decides on the cover price.
Yes.
And then the publisher will decide whether they publish or not based on how you are going to sell your book, not how the publisher is going to sell your book.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. Lots of people don't get deals with publishers because they just write a book, go to a publisher and say, hey, I have a book. It doesn't work like that, because if you put yourself in the mind of an investor and you are the owner of a book publishing company and you're going to invest in someone, as a publisher, you're not buying a book to publish, you're buying a business interest. So when you speak to a prospective author, you want to know, well, is the book any good, first of all? And then what's the chances of me selling it once I've invested in it?
Right.
So as an author, the way to get published with a publishing company, you have to have a plan on how you are going to sell your book. Otherwise, you'll never get published. So don't think that if you go to a publishing house, they're going to do all the work and you're not.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Quite so.
Even if you do get a deal, they'll decide on the cover price. So if you think your book is worth $100 and the publishing company thinks it's worth $10 and it should go in paperback, guess what? It'll go in paperback and it'll be $10. That's it.
Yeah.
And then the publishing company pay you, get this, about 0.7% of the cover price.
Yes.
So if you've got a book that's retailing full price at $10, your cut is 70 cents.
There you go.
So you're not going to make a lot of money going with a book publishing company. However, if you want worldwide publication and you're prepared to work with a publishing company to get that,
it's a great way to go.
Yeah. So it can be a fantastic business card.
Sure.
But you won't make money from it. That's not the idea.
Understood.
It's indirect benefits you get from it. Now let's look at self-publishing. This means you do all the work, all the investments, and all the publication yourself. That means you arrange to get it printed, you do the fulfillment, you do the distribution, you do everything. Now, you might not to do that. You might think that's a lot of work, or you don't have the team or the infrastructure to do that. However, the difference is you have full control on everything. So if you think your book is worth $100 and you want it in hardback, guess what? You can put the price of it at $100 and do it in hardback. Yeah. And when you sell it, how much do you get? 100% of the cover price.
Yeah.
Not 7% of the cover price.
Right.
So here's the thing. When you think about writing a book, you have to make this decision first. Do I want to publish or do I want to self-publish? Why? Why do you need to make this decision first? Because it may decide or dictate is inside the book. Yeah. Because if you go to self-publish, you can write what you like. If you're going to publish, it will be edited by them, and they'll put a pen through it, and it will end up edited. So you have to decide, from the outset, do you want to be published or do you want to self-publish?
Right.
So for me, I decided to self-publish. And the reason for that was I wanted control over the cover price. I wanted control over the cover. Those two things were important to me. For me, for the type of work that I do, I'm the only one who's going to sell books. So if I did get it published and I did have an offer, I don't think people around the world would walk into Waterstones or anywhere else and say, hey, have you got the book by Jeff Smith, you know, the KPI? Yeah. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So when people buy a book, it'll be because they've seen me at a conference, they know me through the industry that I'm in, or they've been on a training course. And that's the only way people will buy books. Yes, people will order them online, but I thought, hey, I'll put my own website and they can buy direct from us. So that's basically the difference between the two.
Right.
If I'd have gone published, I would have sold probably a few more books, not too many more, but I would not have made any money from it. Self-published, all the money I've made has come into the company, and we've then invested it to develop other stuff.
So understood that the onus is then on you. It does when you self-publish. Come on now, there's a little bit more work involved in, yes, I want 100% of the money minus the costs, obviously, because there are costs that are incurred, but certainly a very viable way of publishing, because, if you put in the work, then you make more money. It just stands to reason. When you are self-publishing, however, how is it that you determine the cost of your book, the value that you're giving in that book without overpricing? Because we all love our babies, right? So how do you properly gauge that?
Okay. You just gave the magic word in your question, because you mentioned price.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
I did? Okay, great. What was it?
He said, how do you determine the price, the cover price of your book?
Right.
And giving value. And that's what you have to ascertain. So my book is about $80.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
That's an expensive book.
No, I like that thinking. I think that a lot of authors just, they dumb it down. They make it, wow, there's so many books out there, and what kind of, I think I give some value, but I'm not sure if it's any better than, Joe Schmo's book and that kind of thing. So that's really an interesting take. Explain to me why such a price tag on your book.
Here's the thing. It started off a little cheaper than that, not much. It started off at about $60, something like that. And here's the thing, Clarissa. I decided on this before I wrote a single word. So here's what I thought. There's a lot of information in here, and it's for people who run automotive car dealerships.
Right.
I've written 7 books. I'm just talking about one of them.
Right.
So
quite a niche market, by the way.
Well, I think the automotive industry is the largest industry in the world.
But your buyer, is it more of a niche buyer from the book?
We could say that, yes.
Okay.
So, but it's a very big niche. It's a huge niche.
Gotcha.
So anybody who works in a car dealership or runs an automotive business or boats or trucks or bikes, anything with an engine in it, you're going to want this book.
Understood.
So here's my logic. I hadn't written a word yet. And I thought, there's no point me doing this and trying to sell it at $10. I might as well publish it. So I thought, well, if someone buys this book, what value will they get from it?
Right.
And the largest percentage of the people who buy this book would be people who run service departments in an automotive dealership. And the price of 1 hour at the time was about $60. So I thought, if you buy this book, it's the equivalent of me buying 1 hour from you. to
Right.
have my car serviced.
Okay.
Now, will you get 1 hour's worth of value from this book? In other words, if you buy my book, will you be able to draw customers to the value of 1 hour?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
So usually when we think of an $80 book, we're thinking a resource book, we're thinking of a reference book, much like you would find in a library, correct?
It's correct.
So do you then what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say upgrade the book every year as the markets change and as the newer cars are coming out, or what, I think you understand what I'm saying. In other words,
I do indeed.
Okay.
It's a great question. The book, this particular book we're talking about, is the KPI book. It's about key performance indicators.
Okay.
Do key performance indicators change? No, they don't.
Yeah.
But the expectation of how they're measured doesn't change, but the expectation of the result does. So I wrote the first one in 2001. I wrote the second one in 2014 because we had a big shift in the market. And then I did another upgrade now, 2020. So we had the COVID thing,
Right. So everything, the answer is yes, but not every year. Let's put it that way.
It's on the third edition and it's into 20 years now. Yeah.
Right. Wow. Whew, that is really an interesting take on it. So decide beforehand if you're going to self-publish or not. Decide beforehand the value that you're giving.
Yeah.
Then decide the cost or the price tag, or let's call it the price of the book.
Yeah.
Then write the book. Then
no.
Okay. All right.
Let me move you there.
Go.
Okay. So now you have to think. I said earlier, not everybody wants to make money from books, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, I've helped 34 people to write books, and some people want to self-publish because they want the ultimate control. They're not too worried about making lots of money from it. That's not their goal. They want it as the ultimate business card for their business.
Yes.
For them. And that's what it is. You cannot beat a book because it gives you that ultimate credibility of being an author. You just can't beat that. So some people are happy just to be an author. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So they get their books printed and they sell them cheaply or give them away because they're like a brochure, if you wish. They're used in that context. But there are other people who want to make money from the book. And Clarissa, here's the big secret. Here's what you cannot do. And I've seen so many people make this mistake. People think, I'm going to write a book. They then write the book because they want to, and they put all of their emotion into it, and it's finished. And then they say, right, I'd like it to be a #1 bestseller now. That is so wrong and the biggest mistake you can make. And the reason I stopped you and said, no, I've got some more. This is because you have to decide before you write a single word, is this a book that I want to write? Or is this a book that I want to sell and make money from?
Got it.
It's hugely different. It's massive. So I was on another show and this lady had written a book and I didn't know. And she said, Jeff, you're the most successful author in history. Can you help me write a book? And I said, sure, no problem. Why do you want me to help you to write a book? And she said, oh, I've already written one. I want you to help me write another one. So I said, I'll call her Christine because that's her name. I said, Christine. I said,
okay.
Christine, if you've already written a book, why do you want me to help you to write another book? She said, because I want you to teach me how to write a #1 best-selling book or to be the most successful author in history in my subject.
There you are.
And I said, oh, so let me just qualify this. So you have another book already? She said, yes. She said, I worked with Tony Robbins. I've worked with Brian Tracy. I've worked with them all. Yeah. I set my goal. I wrote this book. And you know what, Jeff? I said, what? She said, I have a garage full of books.
Yeah.
I went, oh, right. And I said, when you wrote your goal, can you remember what you wrote? She said, sure, I want you to write a book. And I said, and then the universe is delivered for you, Chris.
Yes, right.
Because that's what you asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that you cannot be then surprised when you finish writing your book, it's delivered to you, you fill your garage. You can't be surprised then when it doesn't sell, because that was not in your goal. That's not what you asked for.
So what are the steps? So what are the steps then when you say to the universe, I want to write a book and I want it to sell and I want it to sell well and I want it to make a lot of money? You know the answer to that.
I do know. And I'll go back on exactly what you've said, because your question in relation to a goal is way too vague. So let me be really specific on what I mean by that. So for me, I wanted to write a book to help people who are traveling the same path that I've already trod, because I achieved many things before I wrote this book that no one else had ever done. So I thought, I want to help people. It's part of who I am. This is something I want to do, to contribute, to say thank you to the universe, whomever. Here's my way of giving back. So I decided to write this book. But before I started to write, I already decided how many books I wanted it to sell, Clarissa. I didn't say I want it to sell. I decided how many. I then decided how much the cover price would be. Now, you know, $80, right?
Sure.
So the people will think, oh, wow, that's too much. It's going to be an objection. So I then put in my goal, what I want people to say is, wow, what fantastic value this book is.
Right.
Now, this is really, really important, because the mistake that a lot of people make is they'll say to themselves, oh, people think that's too expensive. They won't pay $80 for a book. Now, if that's what you think, and if that's what you believe,
that's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to think about, what is it that I really want? And don't think about what you don't want. Think about what you do want.
Yeah. That is such a great lesson. And, you know, we hear it all the time, and I don't know that we apply it. We do hear it. I do hear it frequently, at least. And I teach about it and speak about it as well. And I catch myself as well doing that very same thing that I teach and preach. And it's a mindset, Jeff. And it's like, you must be constantly reminding yourself of these, you know, these are really, they're universal principles, and so important.
There are universal principles. Shall I give you a way how to test it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So our brain, our subconscious mind, and the universe works exactly like Google or any other search engine. So if you put your thought into Google exactly how you're thinking it,
that's what you'll get back.
Happens. Let me give you an example. If you type into Google, do not show me a red car, and then press enter, what's going to happen?
It's going to show you red cars.
It's going to show you a red car. Why? Because Google, like your subconscious mind, like the universe, does not have the ability to say, oh, you don't want a red car, so please, let's stop there. Can you tell me what you do want, please?
Yeah.
It doesn't do that. So it takes the negative aspect out of the question.
Right.
So do not show me, and give you what's left.
Yeah.
So don't be thinking about what you don't want. Think only about what you do want.
Because thoughts are things, Jeff. Thoughts are things. Right.
We become what we think about.
Right. Exactly. Oh, I love that. I just love this. I love this. Love it. I just love this stuff. I do. And again, every once in a while, I have to catch myself.
Yeah.
But yes, absolutely.
So I spent 3 months writing my goal before I wrote a single word. Why did it take 3 months? Because this is the secret. This is what I did. This is what made my book more successful than any other. I wanted it to sell. I wanted it to sell at the price I set it at. and I wanted people to embrace it. So what I did, I wrote the advertisements for the book before I wrote the book. I created the advertisement and I took it to people and I said, hey, I'm writing a book. Now, normally, friends, family, clients who you speak to, they say, hey, you're writing, oh, cool, well done you. What's it about? And they're not really interested. It's a bit like when you meet and say, hey, how you doing? You say, yeah, I'm good. It's that level of interest. It's, I'm writing a book. Oh, great, good for you. But what I did, I produced this advertisement and I had it with me. I printed it out and I'd say, would you like to see the advertisement for the book? Would you like to see what the book is about? I didn't say the advertisement. Would you like to know what the book is about? And they'd say, yeah, sure. So I'd give them the advertisement, which would have a headline and everything as the advertisement would be. Now, when I first wrote the advertisement, people were, okay, yeah, they were not really interested. And I'm thinking, it's not a good enough advertisement yet. And I was listening to what they were saying and the questions they were asking. And I kept
correcting,
honing this advertisement until the point people would say, hey, Jeff, how you doing? I say, great, I'm writing a book. And they say, oh, that's cool. Would you like to know what it's about? Yeah, sure. And I'd give them the advertisement and they'd go, wow, when can I have a copy? Now, once I had that, Clarissa, I had that, I thought, okay, now I have a plan for a book that I know will sell, not a book that I want to write.
Right.
That makes sense, the difference between the two?
Perfect sense.
So I printed the advertisements. I put it behind my screen. I decided to self-publish. I decided what people would say. I decided what people would say when they have it in their hand. I decided what people would say when they saw the advertisement. I put the advertisement on the wall and then I started writing. And then what happened was something special. Once I started writing, it didn't fit the description of what I put in the advertisement. Now, if I had not have done the advertisement, I would have happily carried on writing. But I thought, if I carry on writing like this, it won't sell. So I scrapped it and started writing again to try and match it up to the advertisement. It took me 7 attempts to write this book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On the 7th attempt, which is about 4 months in now. So it was 3 months to write the goal in the advertisement. It was another 4 months before the 7th version of the book. I thought, yes, I've got it now. But once I'd done that, I thought, oh, I've got it. This is it. This wording, this structure matches the advertisement perfectly. So I then wrote the book. I then made a mock-up and I took it to people who'd say, yeah, when can I have a look? The first person I took it to, he was actually Porsche in Great Britain. I took it to them, to the training manager. And he said, hey, Jeff, how you doing? I said, I'm writing a book.
Writing a book? Funny you should ask.
He said, oh, great. Yeah, funny you should ask.
Oh, gosh.
So I said, would you like to see it? And he said, sure. So I got a mock-up of this book and I pulled it out. He looked and he went, wow, this is phenomenal. I said, thank you very much. When can we buy it? And I said, you can buy it right now. And they bought, it's not gone to print yet. Okay, it's $60. It's in hardback. It's beautiful. I said, great. Can I have 250 copies, please?
Lovely.
I thought, oh my goodness me. Yeah. So I took it next door to another car manufacturer, showed it to them. Yes, can we have another 250 copies, please? Yeah. So in one day, before it went to print, I'd sold 500 copies.
That's extraordinary. Extraordinary. Okay, and is that how you then proceeded to sell the book, or were there other avenues?
Well, that was the design of the book, not the selling of the book.
Right.
So I'd written a book that I knew people wanted to buy rather than a book that I wanted to write. And there's a huge difference between the two.
Right.
So that's what happened. And then because the book was written specifically for the people who wanted to buy it, that should make sense now. Other people would see it, and then it grows by referral. Obviously, I speak at conferences all over the world.
Right.
And when I'm at conferences, people buy the books then. So I've written 7 in all, and I've used this exact same methodology for all 7.
That's
And
really
I'm
great.
writing some more now, and writing the goal takes more time than writing the book. That's how important it is.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's an extraordinary lesson, and one I would have never thought of. Really great nuggets right there. Wow. Okay. We are coming up to the end of the show. I want everyone to know how they can find you, number one, where they can find you, and anything else that you would like to for us to know would be great.
Sure. Well, I'm nice and easy to find, jeff-smith.com. So that's the main website. I speak at conferences. Yeah, I do training. As you know, Clarissa, I do quite a bit of charity work too.
Yes.
So if anybody's interested in writing a book, I'm happily have a chat with you. Or if you've undecided between publishing or self-publishing, just jump onto the website and you can book 15 minutes. I'll have a quick chat with you with pleasure. I don't charge for that.
So that's lovely. And that is the best place to find you is at your website, yeah?
Sure, yeah.
jeff-smith.com. I can't thank you enough for being here. That was extraordinary. What a different way. It's such a different take on how to write a book. And I'm really thrilled that we had that conversation because there's so many things there I truly would not have thought about. I wrote a book because it was something I wanted to write, and I'm happy to say it does sell. But had I thought of a few of those things, I might have been a little bit more ahead of the game. So good for you, and thank you again.
Next time, Clarissa, there must be another book coming soon.
There is.
There must be.
There definitely is. At this stage of the game, I think we've got a few more in us before we kick the bucket. So absolutely, we will. All right. Thank you again, Jeff. I really appreciate you being there. I want you to stay.
My absolute pleasure.
You stay right there while I say goodbye to everybody for this episode. Remember that you can find us on In the Limelight TV on all of your favorite podcasts. And until next time, and we bring back here on In the Limelight another extraordinary entrepreneur.